When the Abrams tanks arrived in Ukraine, they instantly became the #1 target, with Russian forces offering millions of rubles as a bounty for their destruction. But can Ukrainian tank crews fully trust the one ally they rely on the most in battle?
We have no aviation and artillery. We have only tank.
The Russian hunt for Western tanks is creating massive problems for Ukraine's tank units. On top of that, a chronic shortage of artillery shells is forcing Ukrainian brigades to fight closer to enemy positions, dramatically increasing the already high risks for their tank crews. What does such a perilous battle look like? Let's hear from a Ukrainian Abrams tanker himself. We've been hit a lot recently. A couple of weeks ago, for instance, during one combat sortie, we had 10 to 15 hits in a single day. The feeling is like, I don't know, somebody put a bucket over your head and started hitting it with a bat. But the bucket is much bigger, and the noise is way louder. This soldier was lucky, unlike the crews of the 47th Mechanized Brigade, who were the first to fight in the Abrams tanks delivered by the US. What happened to Ukrainian 1st Abrams tanks? At the beginning of the year, the 47th Mechanized Brigade became the only unit in the Ukrainian army equipped with the new American tanks. Before the Abrams arrived, the brigade had been using a few Leopard 2A6 tanks that had survived intense battles, but there simply weren't enough of them. The newly delivered American machines were sent straight to the front, operating in Avdiivka, a region that had become a focal point of Russian offensive in late fall of 2023. The M1 tanks were thrust into the thick of battle, helping the 47th Brigade and neighboring units halt the Russian advance. But the cost of this success was high. Ukraine lost its first 3 Abrams tanks. The first tank was struck by an FPV drone that hit the ammunition compartment, causing a fire. The next 2 were disabled by guided anti-tank missiles. Yet, in both cases, the 60-ton American machines held up against the attacks. Although damaged, they remained intact, saving the lives of the Ukrainian soldiers inside. Today, Ukrainian Abrams tanks face numerous threats, as their crews explain. We've been hit by Lancet drones, mines, and FPV drones. The Abrams has its vulnerabilities and can be exposed on the battlefield, but these weaknesses pale in comparison to the glaring issues plaguing Russian tanks, which have been reduced by 9,000 units in this war. The American tank surpasses its Russian counterparts in several ways, thanks to its advanced technology, particularly its electronic warfare system. Our electronic warfare systems are more effective than these, let's say, and they also offer enhanced crew protection compared to fighting without EW systems. If you agree with this tanker, hit the like button. But a good electronic warfare system is far from the only advantage Abrams tanks have over their Russian rivals. These tanks have their own superpower, as one Ukrainian tanker eagerly shared. Its main advantage is its accuracy. It has excellent stabilization and surprising maneuverability despite its heavy weight. Ukrainian tank crews have another ace up their sleeves to surprise the Russians: the ammunition provided by the US along with the Abrams tanks. What's more, the Abrams has proven to be surprisingly easy to learn for Ukrainian tank crews, who've spent their careers on Soviet-era T-series tanks. A member of the 47th Mechanized Brigade confirms. It's an automatic gearbox. We trained on it in Germany, at a NATO training ground. It's as easy as a scooter. Driving it is as simple as a scooter? Yes. But it wasn't just the mechanics of the Abrams that turned out to be easy to master. The gunner of a Ukrainian crew was equally surprised by how user-friendly the American tank is compared to Soviet machines. Did it take you long to get the hang of the system? The first time I saw the inside, coming from a T-64, I thought it would take a month to figure everything out. But it turned out to be incredibly quick. You could master it in about a week. The ease of operations, cutting-edge targeting systems, and its maneuverability all make the Abrams one of the most effective tanks in the Russo-Ukrainian war. But, as always, there's a catch. Against vehicles, if it were tank-on-tank battles, this would probably be the most successful model. But right now, these aren't tank battles. This shift in tank warfare tactics is confirmed by a 47th Brigade Abrams commander. You see, we don't fight in a way where it's just tank versus tank. If it were, there'd be no question. The Abrams would dominate. A T-72 wouldn't even come close. Today's warfare looks very different from what we've seen in movies like Fury. Tank-on-tank duels are rare. Want to learn more? Click on our video about modern tank battles. In reality, the primary threat to Abrams tanks isn't other tanks, but anti-tank guided missiles, ATGMs. While the exact number of Abrams tanks lost by Ukraine isn't confirmed, some pro-Russian outlets like Military Watch magazine claim that the Ukrainian army has lost about 20 Abrams. Meanwhile, more reliable sources like AP News report losses of only 5. Either way, this is a significant number, considering Ukraine received just 31 Abrams tanks in total. Most of the Abrams losses occurred due to Russian ATGMs, particularly the Kornet system. This isn't the first time Abrams tanks have faced such a threat. In 2016, Saudi Arabia lost 20 Abrams tanks in battles against Yemen's Houthi rebels. Back then, the Houthis destroyed one Abrams after another using Soviet-era wire-guided ATGMs with a range of up to 2 miles. The main cause of these losses was attributed to flawed strategies that failed to account for modern combat conditions. First, Saudi crews fired on the move instead of engaging from covered positions. Second, the tanks often operated without proper support, making them easy targets. Hopefully, you're finding it easier to hit that subscribe button for more accurate and timely information about the war in Ukraine. Like Saudi Arabia, Ukraine's Abrams tanks are forced to take significant risks due to a lack of artillery support and aviation, but that's only part of the problem. Another major issue is the armor. Ukrainian Abrams operators highlight this vulnerability. Unfortunately, our modification doesn't have the armor. That's its biggest drawback right now. As a crew and as a battalion, the first thing we'd like from our American partners is for them to provide us with dynamic armor to protect not just the sides, but also the turret. This would improve crew survivability. The problem lies in the fact that the US sent older M1 Abrams models to Ukraine, which lack modern depleted uranium armor and didn't include ARAT, Advanced Reactive Armor Tiles, kits. According to Military Watch, this is due to US export policies that restrict sharing sensitive technologies even with allies. So, what do you do when crew and tank protection become critical? Ukrainian forces found a solution using local adaptations. Tankers have been attaching factory-made Contact 1 explosive reactive armor blocks to their Abrams. These blocks have proven highly effective at providing protection. We decided to add our local boxes filled with Contact 1 protection. It's dynamic armor that saves us from cumulative jets, heavy impacts, or FPV drones. We've also added grids to the tanks, which protect us from FPV hits or mortar fire. Every part of the boxes covered by these grids has been tested and really helps. But is that enough to ensure combat readiness? Beyond armor, logistics and maintenance pose serious challenges. The Abrams runs on a gas turbine engine, which is notoriously fuel-hungry. It requires a full 500-gallon tank, burning approximately 1 gallon per mile on rough terrain and up to 10 gallons per hour at idle. Adding to the challenge, these engines are sensitive to contamination and prone to wear due to high temperatures and harsh operating conditions. This demands frequent maintenance to avoid breakdowns, which complicates their use in grueling combat. Even the smallest mistake can disable a $1 million engine, and the same goes for the Abrams advanced electronics, from independent thermal viewers to ballistic computers and other complex components. With such a limited number of Abrams tanks in Ukraine's arsenal, even waiting for repairs on a few units can cause significant problems. Ultimately, the Abrams' biggest issue is its quantity. Despite thousands of these tanks in service worldwide, Ukraine received only 31 units. However, on October 17th, reports surfaced that Australia plans to send 49 of its Abrams tanks, purchased from the US in 2006. While this number won't turn the tide of the war, every additional tank gives Ukrainian soldiers a better chance on the battlefield. Australia's Abrams tanks are the M1 A1SA models equipped with modern targeting systems including thermal imaging, making them particularly effective in nighttime combat. Overall, these Australian Abrams are on par with the modern tanks delivered to Ukraine by the US in 2023. Initially, Ukraine was expected to receive M1A2 tanks, but due to the lengthy preparation process, the decision was made to deliver M1A1SA instead. However, Ukraine didn't lose much in this switch. In fact, all M1A2 tanks produced after 2000 are not built from scratch, but are upgraded versions of M1 or M1A1 models from storage. Meanwhile, the delivered M1A1SA tanks are equipped with a 120mm smoothbore M256 gun, capable of carrying 40 rounds. The gunner's primary sight includes an advanced laser rangefinder and a thermal imaging camera, and it also features dual-axis stabilization for improved accuracy. While it's too early to discuss building a large fleet of Western-manufactured tanks in Ukraine's arsenal, the country is gradually acquiring modern combat vehicles that complement its stockpile of Soviet-era models. Which tanks do you think would be the most effective for Ukraine's defenders? Share your thoughts in the comments below.